What's up, family? This is Antoine Smalls of Financial Blueprint, and I am live for the first time on YouTube. I'm so excited to get this started with you guys. As today, we're going to talk about income streams. We're going to have a quick discussion. We're going to have a video that we're going to play. We're going to talk about active and passive income, and then we're going to end with the cash flow quadrant, and we're going to give out some good information and then have some practical tips on how you can utilize multiple streams of income to progress you in your financial journey and your life moving forward. But before we get started, I want to just have a brief discussion about the economy right now and how people are struggling. There's a lot of people out here that that don't have multiple streams of income that can assist them in their financial journey, right? And from someone right now that's sitting on 5 streams of income, it significantly impacts my life, my household, and my family in a positive way because although I have a regular job and I work for whoever I work for, and I also have investment properties as well as stocks and things like that. I also make money when it comes to a 1099 job that I work on the side, as well as I do consulting and coaching also. So I kind of tap into multiple different streams of income. And as we get, more into the active and passive income as well as the cash flow quadrant, I'll be able to explain the different facets of how you can, benefit yourself ultimately by having, multiple streams. So, right now in this world that we live in with inflation, with, all of the things that we got to deal with on a day-to-day basis, everything is is more expensive. You know, the cost of goods and services is extremely high, and I don't think that's going to change. That's not going to go down. It might plateau or even out for a little while, but for the most part, we know that housing prices, median housing prices over $400,000. That's not going to change, right? And as well as the prices of goods when it comes to go grocery shopping and things like that. Prices for regular items, going out to eat, going to the movies, trying to entertain yourself, your children, that's just going to be what it is. So the question is how do we grow our income? um it's by having multiple streams of income. That is the answer, right? That's how you can benefit yourself from making 50,000 to growing that number, doubling that number, tripling that number, right? Getting up over 6 figures, which is not nearly as much money as we think. But once you grow your streams of income, then you'll be able to impact yourself in a positive way. So let's take a second and we're going to watch this quick video about a guy. His name is Josh Elwood, and he has 7 different streams of income. Um, and we're going to just take a look into that real quick.
And I typically put in anywhere between 4 to 6 hours a day on those days that I'm working. 43% of my income comes from YouTube alone, which amounts to about $83,000. I work Monday through Wednesday. I take off Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and I also work a half a day on Friday. As far as my work schedule, I usually get up around 7 a.m. and I don't start work until 8 a.m. And I typically put in anywhere between 4 to 6 hours a day on those days that I'm working. 43% of my income comes from YouTube alone, which amounts to about $83,000 a year. My Amazon store brought in just under $14,000 last year profit. I made just over $33,000 on Patreon, just over $29,000 on Fiverr, $29,000 from affiliate marketing. My cash flow for my rental property was just over $1,200. And I made $639 from dividend payments.
So if we take a quick little look into his breakdown of his income streams, as you can see, he makes money off of YouTube, Amazon, Patreon, Fiverr. He has a rental property, dividends in the stock market, and affiliate marketing. So he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different streams of income. You know, if it was just one thing that he was working on, let's just take YouTube, for example. If he was only looking at YouTube, he was only working on YouTube, he would only be making $82,000 a year versus 189,000, right? So being able to have these multiple streams, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a ton of money. If you make, 10,000 extra dollars a year on something that's a side hustle, or that's a small business or an investment that you make money in, it significantly impacts your life in a positive way, right? So it's important, right, to, if you currently are in a position where you only have one stream of income, to start growing these other streams, right? So we're going to get into active and passive income in a second, but this is just an example of what Josh is doing when it comes to his life and how he's benefiting himself, for his in his finances and also in his journey.
Throughout college, I wanted to be successful, mainly for my peers. It wasn't really what I wanted to do, but I knew that if I was an engineer, I'd be successful in society's eyes. I'd make a lot of money, I'd have a good life, and I'd grow old with a nice pension. When I was working onshore, I'd work a normal 40 to 45 hour week. And then when I was working offshore, there'd be 12-hour days and you'd work 7 days a week. It was really nonstop. I was working offshore in the Gulf of Mexico. And so there were some individuals that I worked directly with out there that their family time was lacking. And they even told me that they really missed out on their life. I think that was the moment when I realized with this leadership role that I'd eventually progressed to, I would be in a very similar situation. I would be traveling a lot more, be spending more time at work versus with my family. It just came down to that emotional value of my time. That's what I need to chase after.
Oh, so we talking about time right now. So what he just said is so powerful. If you only make money at a job, then you don't really have time because you only make money when you're working. So there's no real time to be able to, be on vacations, to live, to travel, right? To do the things that you ultimately desire to do, because you have to go in the office or you have to clock in at a job, right? So that's active income, and there's nothing wrong with having a job. And actually, my preference is for you to have a job, right? But growing these passive income streams can significantly help you to where you can actually travel more. You can actually spend more time with your children. You can actually spend more time with your family, right? There's so many people out here that just clock in every day and go to work, and that's really their life for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. They don't get really any time. They get one vacation, one PTO vacation a year, maybe two, right? But they don't get the ability to go and actually spend time with their family. They spend time with their children. Their children go to daycare or get sent out to aftercare and before care and all of this stuff. And like it sucks, honestly. It does. And at the same time, you're dealing with clocking in at a job and they expect you to be there and to do all of the things that they expect you to do on a daily basis. So it's only beneficial for you to understand cash flow from an income perspective, so that you can do the things that you ultimately want to do with your time.
Unfortunately, when I was 3 years old, my father passed away due to a sudden heart attack. So it's something that I grew up with, and I understood how valuable that time aspect actually is instead of just money.
All right, so we thank Josh for that video, so that he, can spend time with his family and things. He's about to get into debt, and we're not talking about debt right now. But so let's have this discussion about active versus passive income. So active income, most of us understand what that means, right? It's compensation for work that we actively perform. Um, it's less freedom. We just talked about that, due to location, because you have to go into an office or have to go into a specific job on a daily basis. Um, and is lower from an upfront perspective, from an effort and an investment perspective, right? So most people understand that. It's an example of an active income is your salary, the wages, as well as tips if you work for a restaurant or a bar, things like that, where you get tipped. So a W-2 job, active income, you're actively working. A 1099 job can be seen as active because you're actively, working for, a business or a company, right? So passive income is a little bit different, right? So compensation for work that you already have performed. You have unlimited growth potential when it comes to, a passive income generator. You have more freedom, obviously, because you're not actively working for the income. The money is working for you, while you're sleeping, right? That's the goal. Higher upfront effort from an investment standpoint, and an example of that is for dividends as well as stocks and real estate, which is something that most people try to utilize from an passive income perspective, is trying to buy rental property, as I have done, as we continue to do, and be able to build that passive income threshold for our family, moving forward. And then we big into stocks when it comes to dividends, as well as growth potential, long term stocks. So that's just a quick understanding of the passive and active income. As we move forward into the cash flow quadrant, we'll get really more in detail about this. But I just want to emphasize the importance of you having a level of passive income and how you can grow that, and really take the time to figure out, do I want to be a real estate investor? Right? Can I be a real estate investor? Do I have do I meet the requirements to even buy a house? Not everybody meets that requirement, right? Do I have the income, the credit, the debt to income ratio? Is my debt in a place where I can actually buy a house? If you're not in that place, well, do the things and take the time for you to meet that requirement, right? Or if you don't want to invest in real estate, that's absolutely fine. Can you invest in the stock market? Right? On average, the stock market has gone up to about 8 to 10% over the last 70 years. On average. Google it. It's just the facts. On average, the stock market has gone up 8 to 10% annually over the last 70 years. So just from a math standpoint, just from a factual standpoint, you're making 8 to 10% on your money on average, because sometimes it can go up higher, sometimes it's going to go lower, and then sometimes you're going to lose money, right? But if you stay long term in the market, you are mathematically, factually, if you do it the correct way, it's almost impossible to lose money. People lose money in the market because they gamble and they don't actually understand what they're doing, right? So growing that level of passive income, growing them stocks, the dividends, the investments, investing into real estate, getting a real estate property, getting some type of passive income in a cash flow when it comes to owning homes. Um, they call, what's that called? You can rent out you can rent out a home in your own house, right? House hacking, that's what they call it, house hacking. You can house hack if you're younger, if you don't have a family and you feel comfortable being able to rent out a room in your house, or buy a duplex and rent out one of the units, right? Buy a triplex, rent out the other 2 units. It's income, right? So these are just some practical tips, some ways that you can utilize, passive income to help you grow your cash flow on a yearly basis, to then progress you to some type of financial security. And ultimately, what the goal is here is financial freedom. All right, so we're going to jump into this cash flow quadrant. right now. Robert Kiyosaki has made this. Um, Everyone know Rich Dad Poor Dad for the most part. Everyone has read his books. I read it when I was 16, and it changed my whole perspective on finances. Um, and I got more in depth when it comes to this cash flow quadrant, and I actually have it written on a whiteboard, and I teach it to my son, so that he can learn as he grows up, how he can utilize cash flow and income to benefit his life, right? So let's just break this down, right? So E is for an employee. Most people have a job, right? You basically exchange your time and effort for income. Active is on the active income side, right? If you don't work, you don't get paid, right? So we know we got to get up every day and go to work. That is the employee. It is a level of stability. Most people want some type of stability in their lives, consistency when it comes to paychecks. It's not a bad thing. That's fine, right? Let's go down to the self-employee, which is S, right? So if you own an LLC, you create a small business, you would then be categorized as a self-employee, in which you're your own boss, right? And in some cases, what they would say a slave to the business. I don't like using the word slave, but you basically have to, day by day work in your business for your business to succeed, right? Um, so in a sense, you're creating another job for yourself by opening your own business, right? Which is a 1099, to be able to grow an income stream. There's nothing wrong with that. And if I could argue that you should do it, you should do both E and S, if you can, to be able to benefit you long term when it comes to a level of cash flow and income. All right. Going over to the passive side, B, big business owner, right? So understand there's a difference between the small business owner, the self employed business owner, and the big business owner, right? Usually, if you're a B, you're talking about big corporations, you're talking about big business, right? And you have, up to 50 to 100 employees working for you. That is a much bigger business rather than the small business where you might just have yourself or one other person. So the business owner, um, relies on systems that work for the business owner. It's not necessarily based on the active work. It's based on systems, right? They have dependable people, right? That help bring income into the business, right? With or without those people, they're going to be successful because they have systems in place, um, and they have time to strategically plan for your business and enjoy ultimate life, right? So the CEO, let's just take Jeff Bezos for a second. At one point, Amazon was a small business, right? When he first created Amazon, it was categorized as a small business. It was him and his wife in his garage, building boxes and ultimately sending books out and shipping it to people that wanted to order, boxes online. He then expanded that business to be a big business by opening warehouses as well as, distribution centers and, corporate offices to then expand Amazon to what it is now, which is a absolute one of the most important companies, one of the best companies within the United States. So Amazon was once an active income for Jeff Bezos at one time, but then it became something tremendously bigger to where now Jeff Bezos makes millions and billions of dollars off of stocks and ownership equity, ownership percentages that he has within the company Amazon, but he doesn't actually work. He ain't in the warehouse picking up boxes, right? So it becomes a passive income generator for him at this point, right? So that's the difference. At one point, he was actually building packing the boxes, but now he's no longer doing that, and he's significantly, at a higher place, right? So that's the big business owner, right? Going down to the investor. Everybody should be an investor. Everybody. This is a place where you might not necessarily get to the big business owner. Not everyone is going to be Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, right? Steve Jobs, right? Well, I mean, you can say Warren Buffett, but Warren Buffett, played everything from an investor standpoint, and then he created his big business now, which Berkshire Hathaway is Berkshire Hathaway, but ultimately he started as an investor, right? So the investor is someone that allows money to work for you. Doesn't matter if you sleep, you awake, no matter what location that you are in. You can be in another country. It don't matter where you stand, sit, etc. Money is working for you, it's playing for you, and you ultimately are growing income and wealth long term. As an investor, that is what I would call available for everybody. There is little to no excuse in my book for you not to be an investor. You can generate passive income by just allowing money to work for you. And that's not just in the stock market, that's also if you want to invest in businesses, right? So if you ever get to the place where you got a good enough money where someone said to you, "Hey, I want you, can you invest in my business? I'll give you some type of ownership. We might even come out with some dividend payments that we agree upon. I want, I just need some capital to be able to deploy within my business to grow my business while you get some type of ownership within that said business." That's an investor. You're asking for limited partners, right? So as we look at this, most people are E's, which are employees. And as you slide down to the small business or the 1099 self-employed individual, there are a lot of people that fall in that pot too. Right? There are not a lot of big business owners. It's not built that way. And last but not least, investor. My opinion is this: you should have 3 at minimum. You should be a part of 3 different boxes, at least 2. Right? You can have a 1090, you can have a W2, right? This is just for practical for everybody. You can have a W2, you can own your own small business, and you can invest money as an investor. All 3. That's where I currently sit, which is why I have 5 streams of income right now as we continue to grow and see if we can expand that to 6, 7, 8, etc. But at minimum, I got my regular job. I own one, but I'll be opening up another business soon. And then we invest a lot of money every month. That's the only way we can only continue to grow our wealth in a way that makes any practical sense to have financial security and ultimately financial freedom in the future. Right? Another option for you is to be a self-employed. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be self-employed, right? And you want to then, push that capital towards buying real estate and ultimately, owning stocks and getting dividends and things like that. That makes sense too. Right? But find a way to get from the active side of the income perspective to the passive side. And then try to pair those two together to ultimately impact you in a positive way. Last but not least, that self-employed, the 1099 side hustles. Right? There are times where in the past I've worked Uber if I needed to. I did Lyft, obviously. I did it at the same time. And then I also, did Amazon Flex when I needed to too. When I got to a place in my life where I needed some extra money, hey, go get it. Why not? Right? So my encouragement is to utilize the information that you have been given today. And if you are currently sitting in one of these boxes, how can you move over to the other box, to the I? Right? How can you get to that investor box? Very simple. Stock market, real estate, ownership in businesses. Easy process. Right? I say it's easy from the standpoint because I do it, but I'm telling you, it's not as hard as you think. And it doesn't take that much money to do it either. You can start investing today with $20. And we're gonna have an investment conversation. We're gonna talk about that more in detail when we start talking about the stock market. But you don't need a ton of money to start investing. You don't. Right? Every paycheck, you take $20, $25, you take 10% of that money, that gross income. You take, if you can get up to 20%, you make the sacrifice you need to make for your future. Because we talking about financial freedom in this situation. We're trying to bring a blueprint to help you grow to that place where you can do exactly that. This is the screenshot that you need to save, and you can actually look it up, Cashflow Quadrant, right, and actually apply it to your life, right? So, we had a brief video, right, where we practically looked at somebody, right, that actually takes his life seriously to the where he has 7 streams of income, and he traveling, doing his own thing, making almost $200,000 a year. And again, if you looked at his video, 89,000 was just in one pot. So the other 30s, the other 20s, the other 10s helped him propel his income to significantly higher heights. But if it wasn't for those other, income streams, his life would be different, right? You have that ability to do the same thing, right? Secondly, we talked about active and passive income, and we broke down the differences between the active and the passive side, and how, yes, working every day is active income, but how can you then get more into that passive income side of things? And then last but not least, we screenshotting this cash flow quadrant where we're breaking down all 4 of these boxes and having a significantly important conversation on all 4 of these and how you must. This is not something that, you can just turn off and just move on. Sure. But more than likely, struggle continues. Inflation continues to go up. The cost for housing is continuing to go up. You think your rent is going down? It's not. It's not. It's going up. As a landlord, as someone that rents, rental properties, yes, it's going up. It's not coming down. It's not. The cost for housing ain't coming down either. I'm trying to buy another house next year, and I'm looking at these prices, and I'm like, wow, man, this is insane. It ain't coming down. So knowing these things, understanding these things, it's time for you to get on board with multiple streams of income. It's time for you to make the move to passive. Still having stability when it comes to your job. Still having stability when it comes to if you want to work a side hustle with 1099, if you want to open up a small business, right? But then also understanding that some 10 to 20 to 25% at minimum, 10, and if you can get to 20, 25% of your income should be going to being an investor. Every single time you get paid, you need to take 10 to 20 to 25% of your income and push it toward the investment box. Because that's how you then grow wealth long term. So, I appreciate y'all being on live with me. This is my first live video. I encourage y'all to continue to progress in your financial journey, your financial blueprint, man. I'll talk to y'all. Peace.